Hey everyone, it's Tara. Welcome back to my channel, Tara Talks Books, where we talk everything bookish. So I'm going to be doing a recent reads video. I have not done a wrap-up video since the end of September, so this one will be for October, November, and December, all the books that I read during that span of time. So if you want to see what I read recently, just keep watching. So starting off in October, I read Fangs by Sarah Anderson, which is a graphic novel. I ended up giving this one a 4-star. It is a love story between a vampire and a werewolf. It was adorable. I loved the vampires. Elsie, she has a snarky and sarcastic personality, which I really enjoyed. It definitely made me laugh out loud, and it was just very sweet. Next one I read is The Vampire Knitting Club by Nancy Warren. I did end up giving this one a 4-star, and it is a cozy mystery. So this one follows Lucy, and she's going back to Oxford to visit her grandmother after a bad breakup with her boyfriend. When she arrives at her grandmother's knitting shop, she realizes things are off, and she soon realizes that her grandmother has been murdered, but is she really dead? So she ends up taking over the knitting shop and trying to bring the killer to justice, and she gets the help from a vampire and a detective, and her life becomes a bit more complicated than she suspected. So I thought this was a fun, cozy mystery. It definitely was funny and humorous at times. I enjoyed Lucy as a character. Definitely one to check out during the Halloween season. The next one I read is a novella, and that is Blood Moon by Julian Graves. It is a paranormal romance. I did end up giving this one a 4-star. So it follows Hazel, and she's a witch, and Vlad, who is a vampire, as they become lovers to rivals to lovers again. Hazel owns a bar, and Vlad manages the club across the street that's like poaching her business. So they don't really know about each other, but then they soon realize who each other are, and that kind of makes Hazel frustrated because she thinks he's poaching her business, and it goes from there. So this was a fun, steamy novella. Next one I have is The Turn of the Key by Ruth Ware. So this one is a mystery thriller. So this follows Rowan as she stumbles across an ad to nanny in the beautiful Scottish Highlands. She arrives at the house and realizes it's a smart house with all like the modern conveniences. What she doesn't know is that it's a nightmare where one child ends up dead and herself in prison. So it goes where she is writing letters to her lawyer in prison, maintaining her innocence, and it goes from there. It goes from when she was at the house or getting the job, at the house, nannying, and then where she ends up in the prison, you see her letters going to her lawyer. So I did end up giving this one a 5-star. I really enjoyed how eerie and atmospheric this was at times. We know Rowan lied to obtain the nanny post from the synopsis, but we don't know why or what she lied about during the story. So I actually enjoyed how that played out. It was a bit believable for me. Normally I don't understand character motivations in mystery thrillers, but this one I could get behind, so I really enjoyed that aspect of it. You really get to see how one person's actions can unravel like a family. So I really enjoyed this one. It definitely, again, is a really good one to read during like the October spooky season. The next one I read is because it was the October pick for the Black Cat Book Coven, and that one is Slewfoot, A Tale of Bewitchery by Brom. This is a horror. I did end up giving it a 4-star. It is set in colonial New England. Abatha arrives in a Puritan colony to be wed to a stranger. She becomes quickly widowed, and her husband dies in mysterious circumstances. Abatha fights for what little freedom she has in this Puritan community, and it goes from there. She meets Slewfoot, who's a newly awakened powerful spirit. He is trying to figure out who he is, a healer or a destroyer, and villagers start dying and whispers start flying that there's a witch. Abatha and Slewfoot must do what's needed to survive a world intent on killing them. So that's kind of the lead up of it. I will say this book is very character driven. So There's not a lot of plot, so if you don't, like the time period, or you don't like Abatha as a character, you're not going to probably like this book because there isn't a plot. It is character driven. So I enjoyed the historical aspect of it, as well as I enjoyed Abatha as a character. I think it did lull in the middle a bit, but the action really picked up in the beginning, which is why I did give it a 4-star instead of a 5-star. But overall, a good read. So the next one I read as actually a buddy read way back in October with B over at Mama Needs to Read Romance, and that one is The Marquess Makes His Move. This one is by Diana Quincy. It is a historical romance. I gave it a 4.5, but on Goodreads I ended up rounding it up to a 5. So this is number 3 or book 3 in the Clandestine Affairs series. It follows the Marquess of Brandon. So he is half Arab and rumors fly about him. He's rarely, if ever, seen in society. Brandon realized he has been cheated out of land by a map maker, so he disguises himself as a footman in the house of the map maker, but he finds himself attracted to the lady of the house. So Rose is the lady of the house, and she is actually the most renowned map maker in London, but obviously no one knows. So if anyone finds out that she is behind the maps in the family business, it could cause scandal and ruin. With so many secrets between the two of them, it's kind of like can love conquer all, because obviously she's lying that she's a map maker and he's lying that he is footman. So it kind of goes from there. I did enjoy how this one kind of panned out. It was such an interesting premise for a historical romance. I love that the female main character and the side characters all have talents and businesses they run in this. It just was a really fun and unique historical romance. I really loved in the beginning, there's a fun little scene at the dress shop with her and Brandon. I thought that was cute and fun, so I really enjoyed it. Definitely want to read more from Diana Quincy. The next one I have is The Right Move by Liz Tomford, or Tomfordy, I don't know how to pronounce it. It is a contemporary romance. This is the second book in the Windy City series. This follows Indy. We know at the end of book 1 that Indy's boyfriend has cheated on her and they have broken up. Indy is a flight attendant for Chicago's NHL team and needs a place to stay. So in comes Stevie, which is Ryan's sister and Indy's best friend, to help. She gets Ryan to let Indy stay with him until she gets on her feet. So Ryan mostly keeps himself, but recently he has become the captain of Chicago's NBA basketball team or NBA team. And the manager of the team doesn't have faith in him because he's kind of like a lone wolf and with no work-life balance. So he just doesn't feel that he's the right fit to be team captain. But again, he was voted in, so he kind of is trying to prove himself in that instance. So it kind of goes from there. He ends up saying that him and Indy are fake dating, and he goes along with it because obviously he wants to prove to his manager that he can have the best of both worlds. He can have a life outside of basketball, and she does it because she is invited to a wedding of their mutual friends of the boyfriend that, broke up with her or cheated on her. So she doesn't want to go alone, and that is basically the setup. I loved just how Indy was unapologetically herself, and Ryan was just here for it. He didn't want to change her or anything. She was very bubbly and happy and outgoing, and he was just happy to be with her. So Indy is bookish and she reads romance novels, and there's a fun scene between them two. And I really enjoyed that aspect in it. Their first interaction was in the first book. And then their second interaction in their book is really funny. I enjoyed it. She's moving into his house or his apartment, and he's walking in and he's telling himself, be nice, be nice, be nice. And And like the first thing is like, he's not. He's like telling himself to, and he's like, she's like, oh, I've got to move out. So it's just a fun little, like they have like good banter and good like chemistry in the book. I really enjoyed that. I love just how like Ryan like loved Indy. It was like a very quiet love, and he showed his love through his actions, not through his words. And I thought that was beautiful to see in a book. I really enjoy their friend group, and I can't wait to see the books in the series. I've literally loved every book so far I've read in this series. This one specifically is probably my favorite out of the 3 that I've read. So this one, the tropes are cinnamon roll hero, sports romance, fake dating, roommates, and then obviously best friend's brother. I gave it a 5-star. It is probably going to be a favorite, or is going to be a favorite of the year. The next one I read is Halloween Party by Agatha Christie. This one is a mystery. So this is another Poirot novel. It is about a teenage girl is murdered at like a Halloween party, where earlier in the day she boasted about seeing a murder. And so it goes from there as Ariadne Oliver goes and gets Poirot's help to find the murderer. This was just okay for me. I did end up giving it a 3-star. It wasn't my favorite Agatha Christie novel, or like out of her Poirot detective mysteries that I have read. I think I've read about 3 or 4 now. So this one just isn't my favorite. I am going to keep reading more of Agatha Christie. I do enjoy her mysteries, and I tend not to guess the killers. That was the case in this one. It just, again, wasn't my favorite one. I'll continue to read from Agatha Christie's backlist. The next one I have is Caught Up by Liz Tomford or Tom Fordy. This again is a contemporary romance. I did end up giving it a 5-star. This is again the 3rd book in the Windy City series. So Miller is a high-end pastry chef under a lot of pressure, and she's at a point where she like can't create new desserts, and she goes into restaurants and they hire her to kind of like help their pastry like menu. And so like that's kind of a problem for her if she's kind of in a rut and can't figure out the new desserts for it. So she kind of takes a couple months off. And this comes at a time that Kai needs a nanny, and he is a professional like baseball player. Her dad is the coach, and he's like, this can be perfect. You can go along with me and the team. You can nanny, kind of like get some rest and like relax and not have so much pressure on you. And so Kai has been through like so many different, he's a single dad, and he's been through so many different nannies, and he's on the verge of potentially just like this being his last season, because he just wants to make sure that his son has what he needs. And him being on the road and his lifestyle right now isn't working. So his coach doesn't want him to do that because he feels like he has a lot of potential, and that he feels like him getting a nanny and it being Miller will help kind of keep him. And so it goes from there. I loved the banter in this book. The scenes with Kai's son are so adorable. I loved the team camaraderie. They really like helped Kai with his son, because basically what happened is the mom left and said like, I don't want to be a mom, and left him with Kai. Kind of like that. It's kind of a bit of a sad story for him, but it is a beautiful romance. I did really enjoy it. Miller and Kai are quite funny with a lot of wonderful banter. Tropes in this one are that it's, again, a nanny heroine, it's a sports romance, it's single dad, and of course it's coach's daughter. So this was a 5-star, amazing. Love this series. Will continue on. Can't wait. I'm all caught up in it. Can't wait to, I think the next one is Play Along, and I'm excited about that one. So the next one I read is extremely popular, and that one is Fourth Wing by Rebecca Yarros. This is a fantasy romance. I did end up giving this one a 4-star. So this is the first book in the Empyrean series. This follows Violet. Her mom forces her to join the Rider Quadrant, but she has always trained to be a scribe. She is thrust into the Cutthroat War College to become a dragon rider, where every turn someone either wants her dead or the course is attempting to kill her, because it's basically you have to be really fit and really strong and really like be able to persevere through things to make it through the college to be a dragon rider, because being a dragon rider is like apparently really difficult. Our Violet is smaller than everyone and has like brittle bones, so this makes it even more difficult for her at the school. So it does have like that disability representation with her. So I loved both of the dragons' personalities. Those were fun to see and to like learn or hear in the book. I thought they really were fun characters. They're both very different personalities. I enjoyed that Violet has like this inner strength, but is also compassionate. I obviously loved Xaden. He was definitely like supportive of Violet and like he wanted her to do well. And he was like, everybody was calling her weak and that she couldn't do it and she wasn't going to survive. And like they had all this doubt on her, obviously. Because of things, you know, she's smaller, they're like, you're not going to make it. And he just saw like her inner strength and like, he was like, okay, she can like work through things to get past this course or figure things out. Like she was able to like use her brain basically to work through situations that maybe were going to be more difficult for her. So I really enjoyed that aspect. Obviously the tropes in this one are enemies to lovers, which I absolutely love. But I do think I ended up giving this one a 4-star simply because I felt in the beginning, or the story in general read very YA, but it is not YA. It is considered adult. Obviously scenes that made it adult, but then like almost like their decisions, their characters were young. So I had to kind of get past that. And once I did and I realized that, I ended up enjoying the book, but that definitely took me out at times of the story. So that is why I didn't end up giving it a full 5-star. Next book I have is The Worst Christmas Wife by Katie Bashand. I ended up giving this one a 3-star. It is a romance. It is a romantic comedy. It follows Ava, who gets like her perfect dream job just before Christmas. The only problem is she kind of has a grumpy, handsome boss who really doesn't want her there. But then he gets a big client and he realizes that maybe he needs her. So he offers her his client list in return to be his fake wife for Christmas. I thought this was a sweet Christmas romance. I loved, again, how they were both good at their jobs and made a good team. Some of the fake relationship moments were funny. I loved her friend. This is a no steam romance. Some of the tropes were, again, workplace, grumpy sunshine, and fake relationship. I do want to mention I read this as an ARC too. So the next one I ended up listening to on audio, but I have it physically, and that one is Razorblade Tears by S.A. Cosby. I ended up giving this one a 4. So this follows 2 flawed fathers that work together to find their son's murderers. So they are attempting to redeem themselves for the choices they made when their sons were alive. Ike, who is Isaiah's father, did not accept or fully accept that he was gay. And Buddy Lee was like ashamed of his son Derek. They were married and then both of them were murdered. And again, so they team up to figure out what's happened. This book was intense at times and with like gory violence. So if you can handle reading that or listening to that, if you listen to it on audio, just know that going in. I enjoyed seeing the glimpses, like the things that they felt were mistakes. Both of them would have, like, you'd see like memories, or they'd be talking to each other or remembering things, that interactions that they had with their sons that were not kind. They were almost at times cruel and just not accepting of their lifestyle. And so you see the remorse now that they're thinking about it as their sons are gone, because now there's no fixing it. They're already dead, basically. So as a reader, you know the characters are flawed, but you still root for them because you want them to be redeemable. And I really enjoyed that aspect, is seeing characters that obviously are human and have made really big mistakes within their life, but still trying to, again, fix it. This does have topics, obviously, of homophobia and racism in this one. It was really good. I really did enjoy it. And then going all the way on the other end is The Santa Suit by Mary Kay Andrews. This is a Christmas romance. It is very Hallmark movie-esque. So this follows recently divorced Ivy as she buys a farmhouse sight unseen in a small town. Ivy soon realizes that the previous owners left everything, and she is filtering through everything within the house, and she finds a Santa suit with a note that is years old with a little girl's Christmas wish. And this leads her on a quest to see what happened with that Christmas wish, and it goes from there. This does have, I would say it is a Christmas romance, but it's kind of like a women's fiction too, a little bit. It's kind of like borders that. This was okay, in my opinion. I did give it a 3 stars. It had all the Christmas vibes with the Santa suit, and then the house is supposed to be like the Christmas house, and it lights up. And it did have that small town charm. So it definitely has like a festival too. And there are just some scenes that I was like, what? So that's why I ended up giving it 3 star. So the next one I read is Jingle All the Sleigh by Dakota Cassidy. I read this one because it was the Black Cat Book Coven pick for December. And this one is a cozy mystery. I did end up giving this one a 3 star. So this one follows Halliday Valentine. She lives in Marshmallow Hollow, Maine. She is a psychic witch who runs the family's Christmas factory. There is a murder in town and everyone is a suspect. If only Halliday could decipher her visions. So she gets these visions. She kind of sees what could potentially be the murder weapon, but she can't decipher. She doesn't know who it is. So she kind of does some amateur detectiving with her, her handsome neighbor Hobbs, and it kind of goes from there. So I enjoyed the relationship between her best friend and her. I loved how they swapped out books. They were both readers, but they didn't really read the same genre, but they would still swap out books. I thought that was a fun little unique aspect to it. The grandma as a reindeer and the talking hummingbird familiar, and Halliday's banter was funny, but it just was okay. So the next one I have is The Breaker by D. Aaron Santana. This is a mystery thriller suspense. This is a debut author or debut novel by the author. And this one follows Ryland Beam as he goes out on a quest. So he is kind of like tormented by the loss of his family, and he goes on a quest. You don't quite know if it is a redemption quest or what. You kind of figure out what's happening. You don't know what's happened to his family, but you do know that something has happened, and he creates a list with 21 names, and then he goes on a cross-country journey as like basically killing them, becoming a serial killer. And then you learn why he's doing it throughout the book. You know that these people that he's killing aren't necessarily the best people. And then you also, it goes between current time, and then it kind of spans his life. It goes from when he was younger to into closer to recent, like his recent past. And I really enjoyed how, like, there were parts that were really good of like keeping you engaged and enthralled, and you wanted to know what was happening. And then there were times where it kind of lulled, or the dialogue got to be too much. I did end up giving this one a 4 star. I did really enjoy like the premise and the aspects of it. It is definitely gory and violent, and there are a ton of trigger warnings in it. If you can handle that sort of like gory violence, then you could read this. I did enjoy the twist at the end. There is something you learn at the end because this is going to be a series. And I did enjoy that aspect. And I was like, oh my goodness, what's going to happen? This isn't going to end well. So I did really enjoy that aspect of it. Definitely check it out again if you enjoy mystery thrillers or suspenses. There is a more than one point of view. So you get Ryland's point of view, and then you get this detective's FBI agent's point of view. I liked both of their point of views, which I thought that was a good aspect to this book, because sometimes you'll get point of views in books that maybe you like one more than the other, but I did enjoy both point of views. So you'll get that as well. So some chapters will be Ryland, some chapters will be FBI agents, and then some chapters will be like past Ryland. So I did enjoy that aspect, and the culmination at the end was good. So I did end up giving this one a 4-star. This one I read is actually an ARC that I received through NetGalley, and that one is Second Duke's the Charm by Kate Bateman. This was my first Kate Bateman, and I enjoyed it. It is a historical romance. So I ended up giving it a 4. This is the first book in Her Majesty's Rebels series. This follows Tess Townsend. So she's basically sold off by her father to like a very old duke when she's young. So the duke ends up dying on their wedding night, leaving Tess a virgin dowager duchess. So Tess longs for like physical touch, physical pleasure for herself, but she can't risk everybody finding out her secret and losing her independence, because back in the day, if your marriage wasn't consummated, it wasn't considered legal. So all of that is like, she has to keep this secret so she can, again, protect her independence. So this kind of leads her to go to like a masked, I don't know if it's like, not a ball, but a masked event, and it kind of goes from there. She meets Justin Thornton, who is like a shipping magnate, that he ends up reluctantly taking over the dukedom. However, the mystery woman he kissed at the masked evening ends up being Tess, who is the Dowager Duchess. So they have a cute, an adorable meet cute. He sees an obvious solution. He is going to be the new duke. They obviously have an attraction towards each other, so let's do a marriage of convenience. However, suspicious things start to occur, and Justin starts to question Tess. I enjoyed the tension and chemistry between Tess and Justin. I loved that when Justin first met Tess, she was obviously masked at this thing so she could hide her identity, but he knows who she is as soon as he meets her. He's like, no, I know that face. And the mystery plot was fun, but I think there was one too many, which is why I did end up giving it a 4-star, because there are 2 little elements at the end. There are mysteries that they're trying to figure out, and I was like, I don't think there needed to be 2. 1 was fine. The one that they were working on as Her Majesty's Rebels, they have Tess owns almost like a detective business for women, and they keep it discreet to help them. So I just thought there was 1 too many. Again, that's why I gave it a 4. I did love the female friendship that they had. They were always there to help Tess, and be there for each other. So I can't wait to see their books. Again, the tropes are marriage of convenience. Again, this was my first Kate Bateman, and I can't wait to read more from her. Next one I read is a Christmas contemporary romance novella. It's The Naughty, the Nice, and the Nanny. So this is about Natalie, and Natalie is a nanny and is asked to short-term nanny for a single dad over Christmas. So, of course, the agency says that the little girl, Violet, is an angel, but that may not entirely be the case. And then she also finds out that Violet's dad is none other than her high school crush. So it kind of goes from there. So this is a Christmas, or it's set over Christmas, but it didn't feel very Christmassy to me when I read it. So that's again why I gave it a 3-star. I did like, however, how Natalie understood that like Violet's actions were because she was hurting. Even though she was challenging, she noticed like her good qualities, and I thought that was sweet. And now they kind of like developed a friendship. So the tropes in this one are like single dad, obviously nanny, heroine, billionaire. I did also like the aspect that like almost like no boundaries were crossed, sort of thing. So like she quit being the nanny before they had a relationship. So I thought that was unique because a lot of nanny romances don't do that. And the last but not least is 8 Perfect Hours by Leah Lewis. This is a romance. This is supposed to be a Christmas romance based on the beautiful snow on the cover. But it's more wintry and it spans a year. So really you could read it at any time. It does follow Noelle and Sam, and they meet by chance during a blizzard and spend one perfect evening together, thinking that they'll never see each other again, but fate has a different idea. So they end up getting like stuck in a blizzard on like the highway. I believe it's in England, and they kind of like sit in the car together and like have this, meaningful conversation with a stranger that they think they're never going to meet again, or see again. So I think this book is sweet, but it does mention and deal with grief and mental health. The main character is going through some things, or has been going through some things, and you see that. I think this like bridges women's fiction and romance very well. I loved how each time that the two main characters would bump into each other, they would fall back into this like easy conversation, and you could just tell that they were meant for each other. I loved just how genuine and open Sam and Noelle were with each other. They supported each other's boundaries and growth. Obviously, the tropes in this one are right person, wrong time. And there are times where I believe one of them, I won't say who, but they're in different relationships and there are no boundaries crossed. So sometimes I notice that in other books that will have right person, wrong time, they will cross boundaries. None of that was in here, and I did enjoy that aspect. I think 8 Perfect Hours did what One Day in December was trying to do. So I really enjoyed this one. Definitely check it out if you enjoy a bit of women's fiction, romance mixed together, and a right person, wrong time trope. It was really beautiful. I did end up giving it a 4-star, but now that I'm thinking about it, I might give this one a 5-star. Because I think at the time I was like, oh, it's a 4-star. But like it's like one of those books that like kind of stays with you as you think about it. So I was like, maybe I'll change my rating for it. Anyways, excellent book. Can be read at any time, even though it looks very Christmassy. So those are all the books that I read for the past 3 months that I have not done wrap-ups. Let me know what you've read recently in the comments below. If you've read any of the books that I have, leave your thoughts and opinions. I'd love to hear. Like and subscribe if you'd like to. Bye.